VP Engagement Debates 2014. Can I have a round of applause for your candidates? I'd now like to invite the candidates to go around and introduce themselves and tell us their main policy. Starting on my right.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hemingway, and I want to drive for collaboration and make it possible for all students to publicise their events.
I'm Ellie, and I'm aiming to improve communication of SUSU with all students, extending to those outside of SUSU.
Hi, I'm Ross, and I want to listen to students in more ways and find ways for students to actually communicate with the union.
Hi, I'm Thomas Rogers, and I'd like to see a 24-hour Stags alongside the 24-hour library.
Can I have another round of applause for our candidates, please? And I'd like to invite the candidates. What does the role mean to you, Tom?
Engagement. Last year, it obviously got quite a lot of bad press from Sutton Tab in particular, which obviously I won't say it's an alternative name, but it just meant it wasn't much of a anything to do position. But I think that's changed. I think, you know, getting people involved and active in the union is a big part of being at university. There's no point coming to university and just sitting in your room all day and then going out to your lectures. You know, you can do that, it's fine, but it's boring. And I think engaging people, just encouraging people to help out and get involved is very important.
Better sit in your Stags for 24 hours a day.
Well, exactly.
Okay, what's the role mean to you?
I think there are kind of two sides to engagement. So there's the side where it is obviously communications and talking to students and also getting their feedback and getting them engaged, buzzword, with the union. The other side is about making an impact. So when you look at the enterprise societies, for example, or you look at RAG, it's about actually making an impact within the community, within the uni, and internationally as well.
I think it's a really important question to ask because I myself find most students say, what's the role you're running for? I don't understand what you're doing. And there's the reason I'm running, because people don't understand what the position does. People don't understand how the union runs. And so for me, the position is primarily about engaging more students and ensuring that they know what opportunities and events are available to them.
Like Ross, I think there's numerous sides to this role. I believe that engaging students is one, whether it's going through the communications, what people are doing, how people are going to hear about SUSU, and then it's also about driving our students further, whether it's through RAG, Enterprise Community Action. It's about getting students really involved, what they really want to do, and really helping them get there. And and I also think it's about making sure that the union fits in with the rest of Southampton, and that's where it goes out to engaging with the rest of Southampton through the local community and making sure our students are part of that community as well.
Okay, that's an open question. What do we think of your previous SABS tenure? What would any of you do differently? It's not going to be awkward. Anyone want to take this question?
Okay, so for me, previous SAB has primarily focused on building up the enterprise societies, and now they're working together as a team, and that's amazing. She's built on celebration with RAG and charitable societies. What I would do differently is make sure that they're working as a team more similar to what the enterprise societies have done. So more regular meetings would improve that, and they can share ideas, and that will just generate a bigger presence for them, not only in campus but a community-wide one. Also, I would want to mainly focus on this communication aspect. I feel like there's a real barrier, there's an absolute bridge that needs to be built between students outside of SUSU and students within SUSU. They're seen as different entities at the moment, and to do that we need to improve communications.
Okay, so I obviously sat down with Claire, who was in the role before, had a little talk, and she even said communications maybe isn't like her favourite part of this role. I think that there needs to be more focus on communications, there needs to be more focus on actually getting students engaged and going out and listening regularly to students. It's so common for elections to come around, and that's when people meet with students from committees and people come up with their manifesto points, and then, well done, they've got in or whatever, and then they stop communicating with those students. I think that needs to continue throughout the year. There needs to be continuous engagement with groups. The other thing, when Claire came in, I think there was a period of time where she was learning about things like RAG. I have quite a lot of experience in RAG, and I think that we maybe got off to a slow start, and next year we need to get off to a start much quicker. For example, training we didn't get until quite late in the year, so I want to change that and make sure we have early training, early preparation.
Any other comments on your previous SAB's tenure?
I think Claire's done a really good job. She's driven this new role forward because obviously all the roles changed last year, and so she's taken it from a completely new perspective and is shaping the role what it is. And I think it's up to us to determine that even further. But the one thing that I think that I would build on what Claire's done is making sure that students know how to use the union facilities, and I think that's a massive drawback at the moment. Whether it's using CMT or using any other of the facilities that we have here, that really needs to be publicised more.
Yeah, I think she's done a great job. She's got, very infectiously bubbly personality, and she's always there, always on the front line. She's got a very hands-on approach, and I'm quite glad she's not rerunning, because that would be a very difficult candidate to beat. I would like to have a similar sort of hands-on approach on the front line and do engagement that way instead of behind a desk.
Okay, now a lot of you mentioned RAG, and you all mentioned how you want to improve it in manifestos. I'll ask you, Jamie, because you said you were disenfranchised with RAG. How can you improve RAG? How can we make RAG better? What would you do?
Well, I see RAG as being a separate entity at the moment. I don't really see it being throughout all societies, throughout all students. And coming from my expertise as being a student groups officer, I've seen that societies don't know what RAG is. They don't know how to raise money for RAG. So I'd rather make sure all the societies really know what it is, and I'd really make sure that students really know what RAG is. And by doing that, by bringing a RAG officer onto every departmental society, because departmental societies do run RAG events, but they don't do it through RAG. They do it themselves. And if they're educated by having this rep on the societies, by including this knowledge of what RAG actually is and pushing it forward as a brand, then I think that's how we need to improve RAG. At the moment, it's very secular and it needs to be inclusive.
So you need to make it inclusive, and it's an information thing.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Information and people knowing what RAG is and how to get involved. That's what's holding it back at the moment.
Is that a view shared by anyone else? And if that's what's holding RAG back?
I completely agree, but in order to achieve these, we need to have methods of implementing these awesome ideas. So they need to be in the Freshers Welcome Packs. Where do you need to go? What's available to you? It needs to be in the Welcome Talks. Where do you go? What's available to you? Who can you ask if you've still got questions? That all needs to be easily available to all freshers. But even then, there's the thousands of other students that aren't freshers. We need to be able to reach them as well. In second year, people might suddenly have an idea, I want to fundraise, I want to raise money, but I didn't have that in my Fresher Pack, so where do I go? We need ways of reaching them, and in my manifesto I've talked about a large wall calendar that would be freely accessible from the SUSU shop or from the concourse. That's just going to have all the details you need and key events that are going on just to reach those people.
Do we not already have the website? Well, the website has all the events on SUSU. Could you not put it on there, or do nothing else enough?
I absolutely think the website is a fail for people outside of SUSU. It's difficult to use. I don't know how to get around it. People have already had to learn how to use Blackboard and SUS. Learning to use another website, well, they're just not going to bother simply. So I think the messages also could be sent out via Blackboard and SUS.
Do we have any comments on that?
Yeah, can I just start so a few things with this Society RAG officers. Currently we have JCR RAG officers, and the truth is they're not very engaged. They have a role, they have a RAG officer role, and the fact is we have a role, but that doesn't mean that they're going to fundraise for RAG. I don't think it's about creating a position that isn't actually going to be engaged anyway and will just kind of disband. I think it's about pushing RAG to become bigger. As RAG grows and as RAG builds as a brand, then people will see RAG, and that's when people will know that RAG is the way to fundraise. They will see that RAG are doing these things. They will see the Totalizer is quite a good start because it's there, but when they see RAG everywhere, they'll realise that, okay, RAG is about fundraising. And actually, we need to define RAG itself within the committee. We have had problems. We've actually started to look at that because there are two sides to it. Essentially, we have a RAG committee, which is currently very focused as kind of a society group, and they're focused on fundraising as a group. And then we have all of the charity societies who are separate to RAG, and what we need is to bring them under RAG and to make them realise they are RAG and to support them throughout. Final comments on RAG?
Well, in my manifesto, I said that we should probably abolish RAG because, hear me out, no one begrudges giving money to charity, I'm sure we all would give every last of our pennies to charity if we could, but it's very hard to get the normal everyday students to really engage, to really care about what the charities they are raising for. Which is why I think all the sort of leftover money from, not all £9,000 per year will be used on there. There'll be stuff that just doesn't, there'll be stuff that just doesn't spend right up to the limit. This is how much they're paying, but I don't think all of that is going to be used on their course. I don't think that. And I think that the extra bit, the surplus, should be sent into RAG and raise money that way. Even if it was just 1%, it would be £90 times the 23,000 students, which is about 180,000, which is obviously a very large amount of money.
As a maths student, I'll believe you on that. And I'd like to open questions up to this packed floor. They have to be neutrally worded, addressed to all candidates, and it's not for point scoring. Do we have up to 3 questions? Anyone at all? A question, thank you so much.
Hi, I was wondering, are there any particular groups of students that you want to engage more in your role?
Okay, so for me, I think freshers are readily engaged. They've got all the freshers' videos are posted online regularly. They all want to watch them because they want to see their faces online. That's really exciting. But as soon as you hit second year, you're not engaged. It's simple as that. You're not in any of the videos and you're not interested in watching them because you're not on them. And so for me, the people to target would be second, third, fourth, fifth years who aren't involved in SUSU, who didn't take up that opportunity in first year. So for me, those are people to aim for engagement.
For me, it's the average student is involved in about 1.8 societies. So I really want to push people that are getting involved in more than 1 and 2. SUSU isn't just SUSU. SUSU's everything that SUSU incorporates. It's all the student groups, it's everyone getting absolutely involved. And that's what we need to get people involved with first, before they then get engaged with us here in SUSU, the main building. So by pushing people to go out and go outside the box and going to different groups and trying different things out, that's what we need to engage with people first. People that aren't involved in too many things. People that are just doing one thing or nothing at all. That's what we need people to do. Go to student-led approaches.
I think, yeah, I do agree. It's all about engaging students who aren't currently engaged. Yes, first years are very engaged, generally because they're here and they want to try new things. However, I do think we need to be careful. Yes, it's about engaging students. It's about giving them opportunities, though. It's not necessarily about pushing things on them. It's not about saying, you know, second and third years, you have to go out and try something new. If people are happy with what they're doing, we don't have to be like, okay, try something new. It's about getting a balance, and I think to listen to students first, then you'll kind of find out what they want to do.
Yeah, like in the very same sort of breath, apathetic students are very, very hard to, you know, engage, and it's just that first initial push to get them into the union building, to get them into a society. 1.8 societies, you said, per student, which I think, you know, is quite high. Like I know a lot of students who just don't care at all. They just want to get out of bed, do their degree, and get out the door. A lot of people, like, if you are engaged a little, you're engaged a lot generally, I find, especially like people like ourselves in the union, and the RAG and media. You don't just join 1 or 2, you do go for a lot. So getting people to join that initial first society is definitely the key.
Okay, do we have any more questions, Joel?
The area I think that's kind of gone as least far this year is probably community action. RAG and Student Enterprise have gone the furthest. What are you going to do to ensure community action is still going to be there next year? Because you're actually going to have a community volunteering officer next year. We haven't had one for a year. What are you going to do to ensure it doesn't get lost in Student Enterprise and RAG, which seems to take up the most time?
Well, my idea was to, collaboration. So the RAG and charity societies would be able to work together with community volunteering. People who wanted to start a community project would be able to go to these fundraising events and learn things, gain information, gain skills. And then at the bottom of it, they need to know how they're able to go out and do these projects themselves. And so that information then needs to be freely available to them. And again, I think that comes from communication.
I actually agree quite a lot with that, in that I do think it's about collaboration with certain student groups who will be interested. For example, we have a conservation society who go out regularly and do conservation. And we can pump funding from Community Action into those and encourage them to set up new projects if they want to. I also think that in order for Community Action to move forward, we can't sit here and say, this is the one way it's going to happen. I think we need to, next year, actually research it. I know research isn't very exciting, but we need to research how it works in other places, and we need to talk to groups about what they think would work, and what students think would work, and what they want to get involved in.
I agree with both the two candidates, what they've just said. Community action is very different to community volunteering. Community volunteering is run by the uni, which is sometimes not very well put out. People don't really know if they want to get involved, they don't really know what they want to do. So firstly, I want to push with the collaboration with the university, get their scheme up and running and make it more accessible. And then with community action, yes, we're going to be leading it further. Like Russ said, we need to listen to what students want to do. I'm not here to tell what community action societies should do. I mean, the Hub Society did a massive, amazing day on Saturday, ran it completely well, and I think they should have had more people there. And how are they going to get there? By helping, like, from my expertise, and if I was in the role, I'd know how to promote those days, I'd know how to promote their trainings, I'd know how to get the word out there about them. It's about promoting what's already there and helping them work and develop as societies, and then working in conjunction with the university, we can work together on building community action as a sector.
Repeat the question. I couldn't quite make out what Josh was saying.
I didn't quite hear either.
Josh, you want to repeat the question? Well, with the abolished RAG, there'll be a lot of people with not a lot to do anymore. So we can redirect their manpower into helping out these sorts of societies.
I completely forgot what I was going to say. With regards to hubs, I think actually something that's happening with Community Action at the moment, Student Volunteering Week, that's a collaboration between hubs, and that is a really good example of how Community Action can work with societies in order to build something bigger. And I think, yeah, in terms of hubs, they are actually a really great society because they are embedded in Oxford, for example, and they already know a lot of things about how to run community action projects.
Right, we'll have a final question from the gent and the brogues.
No, go on, Claire.
Oh, it's me. Hello. So students can easily be perceived as just binge drinking louts who litter and do horrible things to local residents. What one thing would you do to improve the reputation of students in the local community?
Gosh, one thing's really, really tricky. There's a lot that I want to carry on with that you've done, but since I'm only allowed to say one thing, I won't say that. So Meet the Street is something that, I can't remember what uni did it, I can't remember any of you know. One student union set up something called Meet the Street. This sounds really exciting, I'd love to make it happen here, and that's when a student populated street, I would organise a social for them, and that would happen in a local bar, cafe or something, and it would be with the local residents, and they just get to make bonds, make friends, and hopefully the local community would then see that we're not just a bunch of binge drinkers, we're normal people as well.
Can I ask a question first? Is that okay? How do you envisage that? How do you envisage that happening? And how much time do you think you have to invest into ensuring that students actually engage with that and students actually meet up with the local residents and doing something that both the students want to do without binge drinking and the residents want to do?
Oh, I completely agree. It would be a real challenge to persuade students to go and make friends with your grumpy old neighbour. It's a difficult task, but events in the community I again would intend to put onto my large wall calendar. And so I would target those large community events where students on the street and residents on that street would be able to meet up and enjoy the event together.
Jamie, one thing.
Well, I think, from my experience,
I moved into my new student house and wanted to meet the people on the street. I went round to my elderly next door neighbour, knocked on her door, and she came absolutely frightened out because she said, no students ever come and knocked on my door, and I've lived there. And she said, it's been a student house for 10 years. That's something that we need to change, obviously. So the fact that this little old lady living next to a student house, never seen a student before, that's obviously, I want to change that. I think building on like the biannual newsletter that goes out, bringing the community back onto campus. This will be via like offering offers to like events, like student events, like PA events, getting people to come and see discounted prices, seeing what students actually can do with their time, bringing people into the actual into the university. That's what I think would be better.
Do you think a biannual newsletter would be effective?
Well, it's already out there at the moment. I'd really like to extend it. Maybe, yes, people, like, it's being dropped around at the moment. It's being dropped around this weekend by part of the marketing crew. Yes, it's being physically going through student doors, it's going through community doors. And I think it would be actually effective if you've got, like, say, coupons, people coming back onto campus and stuff that way. Really telling people what is actually going on.
I was just going to say that I think the biannual newsletters are a brilliant idea, and the idea of putting coupons or vouchers in there for PA events and things is genius, and I think should absolutely happen because that will really help with external community engagement.
Yeah, that is a great idea. Maybe this is my RAG background coming through. Personally, I think the Big Give is something that we need to share more with the community. Firstly, it's going to make the Big Give become larger. It's going to make us raise more money. It's going to get us more recognition as RAG. But also, the Big Give is about fundraising a huge amount of money for charity. And if we can extend into the community, work with local businesses, get into places where the community is shopping, doing events that the community can get involved with, not only are they then involved with students, they're involved with something that students are doing good for. So they actually see students doing good and not just binge drinking.
Well, the fact is that students do get this reputation because they are binge drinking, they do litter, and and you know, telling them not to is going to sort of just provoke them to do it. A lot of them see themselves as little rebels, don't they? And they want to, and they just because the union is telling them not to, they're going to go out their way to do it. Unless we have some sort of PR stunt where we sweep all that under the carpet, yeah.
Okay. Right, thank you for the questions. I think it's all been a bit too friendly. You're all saying, I agree with them, or what a good idea. How can you tell the voters what distinguishes you? What makes you the exceptional candidate? Tom Rogers, what is it about you that distinguishes yourself from your opponents? I presume we've all read each other's manifestos. Be critical or say something about yourself that really means you are the next VP engagement.
Well, a lot of my policies didn't turn up on any other manifestos, which I was quite surprised about. Like abolishing RAG, like the 24-hour stags. I think these are sort of things that just play into the student niche. Of they like drinking, they don't like people with clipboards getting shoved in their faces. You know, I think that's why I have a particular niche over the other candidates.
It is a market.
It is.
Okay, I think that experience has dictated. I've got very, very realistic goals. I really know what's going on. I'm not saying that you guys don't have any idea at all, but I think that the goals I've set, I think that they're very easy to achieve. I think what really makes me different is that I want to go out and listen. I want to have regular meetings with student groups. I want to be going to committees and talking to them all the time so that we constantly have feedback. Yeah, I think that's really what it's about.
Okay. I think what distinguishes me is that I am the most of an outsider of the candidates, and so I feel like that gives me a stronger student voice. Gives me a stronger student voice because I have seen SUSU from the outside. I know what's confusing to people, and I know how best to communicate that. I know what facilities we do use. I know what opportunities we do know of and what we don't know of. And I will be able to make sure that every student, hopefully, will be aware of all the events and opportunities SUSU has to offer. be it in RAG or Enterprise and other societies.
I think what really distinguishes me is that I have a really strong connection with societies. I have lots of experience with working with different areas in different societies, and I know exactly how SUSU works. I know that every single one of my goals is achievable. I know exactly how to achieve it. I know the timescales, I know exactly how long it will work, and I know who to contact, what to do, and I think that's what really distinguishes me, is that I think that I could get absolutely everything done, and with my connections, by bringing it in, say, societies into the main fold again.
Okay, I feel like we're divided, but no one's quite conquering yet, so now I want to know is, what's most important to you? RAG, Enterprise, or Community? Obviously, you can only choose one, and the other two you will have to remove if you're elected. Tom, what's most important for you?
Well, we can obviously cross out RAG straight away. Was it Enterprise and Community was the other? Well, I think everyone likes feeling part of a community, but not everyone has the drive to go into Enterprise. So I'd go with the first one, Community.
This might be obvious. I'm going for RAG, and it's actually quite simple. Enterprise is very solid at the moment. Yes, there are improvements to be made, and most of that is to do with actually supporting the groups that are there. Community action obviously needs to be built, but that's going to, I think that RAG has the most work to do at the moment in order to properly be engaging students and properly be working with all of the charity societies, of which there are a lot.
RAG, Enterprise, Community.
Well, I do believe that the Enterprise societies are really well established and they've achieved some amazing things. And luckily a long-term strategy has been put in place that I intend to continue, and I think that'll all be fine and dandy. So I think the most important one to me would then be either Community or RAG. Yes, that is too. I think I would go for Community because it's what I'm most excited about, it's what I'm most passionate about, and something that I feel I can really make a big difference, probably through RAG as well.
That's cheating.
Community action, it involves absolutely everything. Enterprise is community action. You've got the societies that are going out and doing what Wise Minds, like in Enactus, going out to the society. That is community action. RAG is community action, so community action is the most important, I see.
Okay, now Tom, in his manifesto, you mentioned not knowing really what Winchester is. So obviously, if that is, I presume that's not the case with the other candidates, but how do we engage Winchester students? They're quite far away. How do you engage them in RAG and Enterprise and Community? How are you going to extend that olive branch and get them involved?
I've recently just come back. I did the Winchester Bum Fight for Creative Industries, and I went as student groups officer representing the rest of the student groups. And I saw that people don't like being told to do something new, or don't like seeing something new halfway through the year. I see that this needs to happen from the start. We need to show exactly what we want to do. People can do it, and I'm leading on a project where people can set up their own versions of their societies in Winchester. That's what I'm working on at the moment, and people are doing it. People are doing it. A couple of years ago, one of the SABs said, just go out and do it, just do it, and people didn't really want to see the reason of being affiliated at the union, so people are doing it. We just need to now grab those societies back and tell them that they can be involved with the union and show them all the benefits. And I'm already doing that now, and that's how I'll continue it through.
Yes, so absolutely, Winchester should be making their own societies, but at the same time, we wouldn't want that to cause a further separation and then becoming a separate entity. So I think they need to be targeted from the word go in the same way Southampton University students are. They are Southampton University students. But Southampton campus students need to be targeted in the same way. So when I say from the word go, I do mean the day they get their results. The day they get the results is the day that they are engaged.
I'd actually disagree with that. I think that it is about giving independence to Winchester campus. If you are when you have groups in Winchester campus, they shouldn't be run by groups at Southampton. The fact of the matter is that with RAG, we aren't really involved in Winchester because we can't afford the time as students to go up to Winchester and get them involved. So really, I think it's about decentralisation and moving from SUSU here and letting the Winchester students actually decide, you know, that if they want RAG and to do it themselves and to help them do it themselves.
You say that, you don't have to be dictating to Winchester what to do, but you can surely you could engage them. You talked about the Big Give and how important that was. Students at Winchester could be involved in the Big Give, and Southampton and Winchester are slightly bigger together than apart. Do you not think that it's a useful asset that you should be seeking to engage, if not be delegating policy to?
Okay, I definitely think that it would be great for them to get involved in the Big Give. What I'm saying is that we can't really, as students and student leaders, it's very difficult for us to go to Winchester and get them engaged. First, it has to start at Winchester with them wanting to be engaged.
Well, like you say, I'm not entirely sure what I'm guessing it's a campus. I think firstly, to get them engaged is to educate the people here, of telling people what Winchester is, what they do, how they can help towards them, and again, go over to the Winchester campus, educate them how they can get involved, what sort of activities they can do, quickest way to get to Southampton, that sort of stuff.
Now, several of you have talked about conferences for RAG, national RAG conferences being held here, or national enterprise conferences being held here. How do we make that happen? Some of you have promised both. How can you, in 1 year, organise a national conference and make sure it's here? I'll ask you this first, Jamie.
For the Enterprise National Conference, I see it as we are already holding regional conferences via different societies. It's not a massive step up to hold a national one. Working together, people, say Enactus, have just won the Nationals 3 years in a row. People are really wanting to come here and learn from them, learn from our enterprise societies. People want to do it, so that's not going to be hard to establish. And with the RAG National Conference, RAG really want it. I really want to support them. I really want to make sure that they become on a national stage. That's going to promote the idea of RAG at the university. If we have the whole other RAGs coming to our university and we showing them what to do, how well our university works, and that will really build what RAG needs to happen. Sorry, that will build RAG, and which is what needs to happen. So I will definitely support it. It will be easy.
Wow, it's going to be easy. I am so passionate about it, and I think it's the most exciting thing if we are able to host the RAG conference. It will engage more students, not only on campus, but in the external community. It will inspire more people to be involved, and something I thoroughly support.
Okay, to start with the RAG conference, there's already the RAG conference every year. It's just hosted by a different RAG, which means that you have all of the experience from the past years passed on to whatever committee take it on. So if we put in a bid for RAG conference, we have support from the conferences that have run before. Additionally, it's already run by small committees of RAG. So a small committee of our RAG, there's no reason we can't do the same thing. With the Enterprise Conference, the best way towards that is through collaboration. Student hubs run a Merge conference, which, okay, that's just a social enterprise conference, but they run that in Oxford and they run that in Cambridge, and it is huge. I actually went to it last year, and they had the person who founded Fair Trade USA as one of their keynote speakers. So by working with them, we can ensure that we have a conference that people from across the region want to come to, and from across the rest of the UK.
Okay, Tom, I presume not national RAG conferences, but national enterprise conferences. How would you sort that out?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I'll look into that immediately.
Okay, right, next question. We talked a lot about RAG, we talked a lot about community. We haven't really touched on enterprise in depth. How would you encourage enterprise? I mean, obviously we talked about conference, but how would you encourage enterprise? The student on the street, how are you going to encourage enterprise? Tom?
How would you encourage enterprise? Probably having more talks, get some more public speakers in, telling people how to getting into the subject and getting into building up your own business and stuff like this. I think just encouraging people that way, sort of explain to people not only that it is possible, but sort of how to do it, and then work from there.
Give them the means.
Give them the means, yeah.
Okay.
I completely disagree with that. I think every student is enterprising. As already, we don't need to tell them what to do. We don't need to tell them how to be enterprising. All we've got to do is look at the enterprising societies. They're doing absolutely fantastic. Students that are organising socials to jesters, people that are doing a cake sale on campus are enterprising. They already are doing it. We just need to support them. That's what I really want to do with Enterprise. I want to make sure everyone knows what they are. And the specified enterprise societies, people don't know who they are because they walk past them at Bumfight and go, oh, what's this, an Actors? I don't know what they are. I want to run an Enterprise Day during Freshers where every society can come, collaborate together, can network together, can show each individual project and make it a massive thing within the Freshers. And I also think that collaboration between everyone and also establishing an enterprise loan fund, which is where people that can't afford to start up their own businesses, can't afford to start up their own things, can apply for this loan fund and then pay it back within a loan period. This will help people have the confidence to go further. And even if people aren't successful with this application, I will be there to support them. I will create a support pack for them, how to patent projects, how to, extending on the how-to guides from student activities, extending them, like, what's the financial advice? What is it? We provide it for them. What is legal advice on setting up a company? Provide it for them. Not telling them what to do, they're already doing it.
I think there are a few things here. I'll start with this kind of loan idea. The thing with a loan idea, firstly, it means they have to pay it back. I don't actually think that there is any need for a loan service. The university has £50,000 every year that it gives away for startup businesses, for students who want to start things.
Oh, briefly. Okay, well, basically, all of this is very good. I believe in nurturing and supporting people who are already involved in enterprise societies and enterprise activity. But what about those who have the enterprise ideas, who have thought about starting a business, but aren't brave enough? They need inspiration. Therefore, I actually do think we should have speakers in that are inspiring, and we should have talks, big talks, that people will come to and be more engaged.
Can I say something very...
We really are very short time. I want a very quick sentence, if anything too brief. Tom, what distinguishes you?
What distinguishes me is that, well, all of my manifesto points generally.
Right. That I want to listen to students.
I will be the best voice for the vast majority of students.
I want to drive collaboration. I know how to help them as well.
That's very brief from everyone. There were your VPN engagement candidates. Can we have a round of applause, please? Up next, I believe we have DCI, but that's all subject to change. Just stay tuned. Susu TV for all updates. Thank you very much for watching.